Cardi B just went nuclear on X Spaces and obliterated BIA's entire existence in the industry. No music, no write-up, just a live-stream career funeral in real time. And the wildest part? BIA lit the match herself by opening her mouth one time too many about a diss track everybody was ready to forget. Bro really apologized to Doja Cat, tripped over the apology, and somehow ended up getting her whole career dragged through the mud by the Bronx. BIA really picked the worst possible week to remind Cardi she existed. Before we get into it, subscribe, don't miss it. Nah? Yo, I need everybody to sit down for this one, because what I'm about to walk you through is not just a rap beef, it's a public unraveling. Belcalis Almonzo, Cardi B herself, hopped on X Spaces and unloaded one of the most savage, profanity-drenched rants the timeline has ever witnessed, and every single word of it was aimed dead center at Bianca Landrau, better known as BIA. We're not talking about a subliminal. We're not talking about a vague bar buried in a verse. We are talking about a full-blown, live, unedited verbal demolition of another rapper's career, her credibility, her image, and her street credentials in front of thousands of listeners who were recording every second of it. This all went down on August 14th, 2026, live on X Spaces, the platform formerly known as Twitter, and it happened roughly an hour after BIA did something that I genuinely cannot explain with logic. She doubled down on her old "Sue Me" diss track in the replies of her own Doja Cat apology post. Read that sentence again. She posted a public apology to one female artist, and then, in the same comment section, recommitted to dissing another. I have covered a lot of beef in this game, but that is a new tier of self-sabotage. Now, before we get into the receipts, and oh, they're AIE receipts, let me set the stakes for you, because context is everything here. This isn't round one of this war. This isn't even round two. This is a beef that has been simmering, cooling off, and boiling back over for over 2 years. And on August 14th, the pot didn't just boil over. The entire stove exploded. Cardi didn't send a tweet. She didn't drop a story post. She grabbed a live MIC and went to work, calling out BIA by name, pulling up old receipts, hinting at recordings, and invoking her kids, which, for anybody who knows Cardi, is a line you do not cross. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna rewind the tape and walk through every quote, every reply, every hidden detail of the timeline that you'll missed. Because when you see this whole thing laid out in order, you're gonna understand exactly why this backfired on BIA instantly, and why the internet crowned Cardi the winner before BIA could even log back on. Buckle up. Let's get into it. Let's rewind the tape and lay these quotes out one by one, in order, because this entire meltdown started with BIA typing when she absolutely should have been chilling. Every disaster has a first domino, and this one fell on August 13th, 2026. That's the day BIA posted a public apology on X aimed at Doja Cat. Quick backstory so you'll understand why. Doja had been spotted on a fan livestream casually vibing to BIA's music, and BIA, clearly seeing an opening, jumped on the moment. Her exact words were, "Thank you, Doja. I genuinely apologize for anything I ever said that was shady. I appreciate you playing my songs. I've always liked your music as well. Wishing you nothing but peace, love, and blessings." Now look, that's a clean apology. That's mature. That's the energy of somebody trying to move past the drama and re-enter good graces. Nothing wrong with it at all. Yet, because then, and I still can't believe this part is real, a fan slid under that very same post and brought up the elephant in the room, referencing BIA's old diss track situation with Cardi and calling it out as awful. And BIA, instead of scrolling past like a normal human being with a functioning PR instinct, fired back with 5 words that would detonate her whole week. Okay, then talk about how it was all true. Billboard confirmed the exchange blew up almost immediately. Now listen, when I first read that reply, I had to do a triple take. I literally stared at my screen like, bro, you just apologized to ONE woman and doubled down on a 2-year-old diss against another woman in the same comment section, on the same afternoon, with the same thumbs. Peace and war in one thread. That is the dumbest flex I have ever witnessed on this app, and I've seen a lot of dumb flexies. And if you think that was bad, it gets worse. Another user tried to give her a lifeline, tried to reason with her, saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, "I thought you were mature, but then you repeated the same mistake again years later." A fair point. A gentle exit ramp. And BIA's response? She doubled down again, saying, I didn't repeat SHT. This ain't about that. Whatever I said about that other B word, I stand on it and never take it back. Asterisk nah. Nah. Brew. That's where BIA lost the plot completely. You cannot apologize on Monday and start swinging on Tuesday and expect the culture to take you seriously. You just can't. And the culture, meaning every group chat, every quote tweet, every rap blog in America, notice immediately. Now, enter Cardi. She hops on X Spaces Live. MIC hot. Zero filter. No publicist in the room. No pre-written statement. Just raw, unfiltered Cardi. And she opens with this. Truth? What's true? What's all true? Tell me what's all true, 'cause I could tell you some truths right now. Let's talk about some truths. Yahoo Entertainment documented the full rant and the frenzy that followed. When I heard that intro, I already knew. I knew somebody was about to lose a career in real time. That wasn't anger. That was a countdown. Then Cardi got surgical. She went into BIA personality, on record, and dropped this. This he asterisk wanted to be friends with me so bad. And I got this on recording. Every single time she used to see my ex, she used to be like, oh, tell Cardi I don't have a problem with her. She would send my friends. She would send Tissa. She would send everybody. Asterisk when I heard that, my jaw was on the floor. So let me get this straight. BIA was allegedly running a whole please tell her I love her tour behind closed doors, sending messages through mutual friends, through Cardi's EX. That's diabolical. That is the move of somebody who knew from day one they were outmatched and tried to buy safety with flattery. And Cardi held that receipt in her pocket for years before cashing it in live on air. Then, scorched earth. Cardi went after BIA's entire artistic identity with a line that honestly might be the coldest thing said in rap beef all year. There's nothing about you that I want to be like or look like. You don't inspire me for SHT. But Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Rihanna, Madonna, you'll inspire me. Especially you, BTCH. No. Bro said what? That's not a diss. That's a public death certificate read aloud on live radio. Nobody, and I mean nobody, survives being name-checked as a no next to Beyonce and Madonna. That's not losing a round. That's getting written out of the history books mid-sentence. But we still haven't gotten to the nuclear round. The cheating allegations. Cardi laid it out plain. Months later, she told one of my ex-husband's friends that I was cheating on him. I told him if I find out this is truth and you ain't said the truth out your mouth, you're gonna see how I move. You're not gonna do me how you did me the last time. And then she issued the challenge that became the headline everywhere. Look for any proof that I ever spoken, texted, DM'd anything. Look for a date, look for nothing. Or made it up. And that just goes to show you, these beaches be jealous of everything that you got going on in your life. She didn't just deny it. She dared the entire internet to investigate her. That is the confidence of somebody holding absolutely nothing incriminating. Think about that. And then, the line that shook the whole timeline off its axis. Once you mention my kids, BTCH, I was like, I'm gonna make this BTCH regret it. You could fake diss me over everything. Anything. You can't mention my kids. When I heard that, I paused the stream. I had to, because that's not rap beef anymore. That's a mother switching modes mid-sentence, and everybody listening could hear the temperature in her voice change. Cardi herself had already laid out this same boundary in an earlier interview about the beef, saying you mentioned my kid was a point of no return, and on this Spaces stream she made it crystal clear the line hadn't moved. Okay, so now we've got the quotes. The receipts are on the table. But quotes alone don't tell the story. Timing tells the story. Let's connect the dots. Here's where it gets crazy, because you all didn't notice the timing on ANY of this. And the timing? The timing is the whole story. That apology post of Doja Cat? It dropped less than 24 hours after Doja was spotted on a fan stream casually vibing to BIA's music. So let's be real about what that peace and love moment actually was. It wasn't organic growth. It wasn't genuine reflection. It was a reaction. BIA saw a window crack open with a bigger artist and dove through it head first. She waited for a crossfire opportunity and slid into Doja's good graces the second the door moved. And look, that's not illegal. That's the game. But it's terrible Transparent strategy timing. And when you pair it with what she did in the replies, it looks even worse. The whole thing played out exactly as fan accounts chronicled, with the apology and the doubling down sitting in the same thread for the world to see. Because an all-true reply, it went up in the same thread, minutes apart from the apology, not a separate post, not a follow-up hours later after a cooling-off period. Same thread, which means BIA typed peace and violence with the exact same set of thumbs on the exact same afternoon, probably within the same bathroom break. Any person with a single real advisor in their corner would have said, wait a week, let the Doha moment breathe, don't touch the Cardi stuff. But BIA isn't listening to advisors, or worse, she doesn't have any. Now zoom way out, because this beef didn't start in 2026. Rewind with me to March 2024. That's when fans first started buzzing that Cardi had borrowed from BIA's lane on Like What, the track built on a sample of Missy Elliott's 1999 classic She's a B*****. BIA responded with subliminals, then escalated to a full diss track, Sue Me. In May 2024, the record that first put the cheating allegations about Cardi's marriage into the world. Cardi went live on Instagram back then and threatened legal action. Then, silence. 2 years of silence. Until September 19th, 2025, Cardi drops her album Am I the Drama? And buried inside it was Pretty and Petty, a scorched earth diss track aimed directly at BIA, which Revolt reported Cardi openly explained as a direct response to the feud. So this X-Spaces rant, this wasn't the beginning of anything. This was round 4. This was a title fight Cardi had been saving her best punches, and BIA's statement, her little it was all true flex, arrived at the worst possible cultural moment for her. Look at the scoreboard. Cardi had just wrapped her Little Miss Drama tour. Pretty and Petty had racked up millions of views on YouTube. The album was a platinum certified comeback. And BIA, coming off an album cycle so quiet that Cardi literally said on the Spaces stream she wasn't even gonna pick on her about the numbers. That's the cruelest red of all. Your flop isn't worth my breath. So BIA, fresh off a soft cycle, decided to reignite a war with somebody sitting on the throne of a platinum year? That's when you know there's nobody real in that camp. Nobody who loves her enough to take her phone. And peep the platform choice, because this detail is slept on. Cardi didn't respond with a diss track. Didn't film a video statement. Didn't call up the tabloids. She used X-Spaces, the exact same platform where BIA lit the match. That's not an accident. Yo, that's Cardi saying, you want to type on this app? Cool. Let's talk on this app. Live. Unedited. With thousands of people listening in real time. She met BIA on BIA's home field and beat her with a louder voice. And the wildest part? BIA apparently thought nobody would connect these dots. But trust me, it gets even more interesting from here. Now check this out. Because nobody, and I mean nobody, is talking about the specific word choices Cardi used in that Spaces stream. And once you zoom in, you realize this rant wasn't random. It was engineered. Zoom in on one line. I got this on recording. 5 words. But those 5 words are landmine. Cardi didn't say, I have receipts. Didn't say, I have screenshots. She said recording. Audio. Voice. Which means somewhere. In a phone. On a laptop. On a hard drive in a safe. There's allegedly an audio recording of BIA sounding thirsty for a friendship she publicly pretended she never wanted. And Cardi telegraphed the existence of that tape live on a public stream for millions to hear. That is not a slip of the tongue. That is a warning shot. That's Cardi telling BIA, I'm holding something, and you know exactly what it is. And BIA didn't catch it? Didn't pump the brakes? That's embarrassing. Now zoom into another phrase buried in the middle of the rant. Mind you, you f***ing a 21-year-old. One sentence. Dropped in passing. Most people scroll right past it. But I didn't, and neither should you. That's Cardi putting BIA personal life on Front Street with specific age attached. That's not a random shot in the dark. Random shots don't come with details. That's the kind of line somebody drops when they have a whole paragraph of information sitting behind it, ammunition they are choosing not to fire. Yet, if BIA had half a strategic brain, she would have heard that line and gone completely silent for 6 months. Instead, crickets where there should have been retreat. Now zoom into the roast structure, because this is where you see Cardi's experience as a battler. She listed her inspirations in order: Lady Gaga, Beyoncé, Rihanna, Madonna. 4 women, 4 global icons, 4 multi-decade, untouchable legacies. And then, the pivot, especially you, B***TCH. No, that structure is forensic. Yo. She built a pyramid of legends, brick by brick, just so she could place BIA at the bottom as a punchline. That is not off-the-cuff emotion. That is rehearsed muscle memory. That is a line somebody has been sitting on, polishing, waiting for the right moment. And August 14th was the right moment. I've seen battle rappers prep for months to land a flip that clean. Cardi did it in a voice chat. Now zoom into ONE delivery choice that flew over everybody's head. The way Cardi kept repeating, "What's all true? Tell me what's all true" at the top of the space. People online were calling it rambling, calling it her losing composure. Nah, that's not rambling. That's a rapper's cadence. That's the same call and response pocket she rides on Pretty and Petty, the very track Wikipedia's entry on the disc describes as her attacking BIA's success, flow, and image all at once. She wasn't losing it. She was warming UP. She was rapping the diss before she started ranting the diss. That's the thing about BIA. She hears repetition and thinks it's weakness, when it's really a boxer bouncing on their toes before the combination lands. BIA doesn't read between the lines. She never has. And finally, peep the legal fine point buried in the rant, because this might be the most important detail of all. When Cardi said, "Look for any proof that I ever spoken, texted, DM'd anything," that phrasing is not emotional language. That's legal language. Spoken, texted, DM'd. That's an enumerated denial. That's a structure of a sentence somebody says after a lawyer tells them, "If you deny it like this, cover every medium, leave no gaps." Remember, Cardi already threatened a lawsuit over Sue Me back in 2024. So this rant wasn't just venting. It was a documented, on-record, public denial, one that could end up printed in a court filing someday. Every word of it was said with a lawyer in the back of her mind and a tape in her back pocket. Now that's chess. So with all that established, how did the media play it? Because here's the thing about a story this big, every outlet that covered it framed it differently. And when you line the headlines up side by side, they tell you exactly who's on which side. Billboard framed it as a reignition, professional, measured, that classic trade publication, Feud escalates energy. They basically played referee, laying out the sequence without picking a winner. But look closer at their framing. They led with BIA doubling down, not with Cardi going off. Billboard clocked the sequence exactly. Apology first, doubling down second. Spaces rant third. Subtle, but that's Billboard quietly telling you who started this round. Yahoo's coverage went bigger. Their write-up literally opened with Cardi reigniting the feud via Spaces rant, leaning into the spectacle of it all. Yahoo Entertainment framed it as pure fireworks, entertainment content, breaking news energy, which, honestly, undersells what actually happened. Because remember that legal language moment we just broke down? That's not spectacle. That's strategy wearing a costume. Then you've got the radio and blog circuit, outlets like The Beat, that led with the most damning angle possible. Cardi accusing BIA of talking behind her back, questioning her street credibility, accusing her of switching up after once wanting a friendship. That framing does not read neutral. That framing reads like the verdict was already in before the article was written. And when the fan pages and community accounts, the Jasmine brand comment section, the rap Instagram aggregators, all ran the same olive branch turned into a reignited beef narrative, the story was locked. BIA apologized. BIA backtracked. Cardi responded. That sequence was sealed in the public record within hours. Now, the counter-narrative. Because they're IS1, and we got to address it honestly. Some BIA supporters online are saying Cardi is punching down. Their superstar at Cardi's level shouldn't even engage with somebody at BIA's level. Others are calling Cardi hysterical, overreacting, obsessed. And a few are trying to spin the whole thing like BIA is a real victim here because Cardi has a bigger platform and the bigger machine behind her. But here's why that argument collapses the second you apply pressure to it. Punching down requires the person below you to be minding their business. BIA was not minding her business. BIA is the one who typed "it was all true" first, unprovoked, in a thread that had nothing to do with Cardi. BIA is the one who kept this beef alive across TWO 4 years with subliminals and diss tracks. And BIA is the one who put allegations about Cardi's marriage into the world on wax. You don't get to swing at somebody repeatedly for 2 years and then cry, punching down the moment they swing back harder. That's not how gravity works. And the fans pushing that angle, those are the same people who thought Sue Me was a career-defining diss when it barely made a dent in the streaming conversation. If you still think BIA has a high ground after seeing this full timeline, you're not analyzing, you're just biased. But here's what nobody is saying out loud. The mainstream media wants you to believe this is just two female rappers beefing. That's a clean, safe, monetizable narrative. Female rap feud reignites. Details at 11. Cute story. Sells clicks. Keeps advertisers happy. Here's what they won't tell you. This isn't a beef. This is a career execution dressed up as a rant. And the wildest part? BIA volunteered for it. She scheduled her own execution date and posted about it in a comment section. Let me explain the psychological warfare at play here, because this is the angle nobody in the media is brave enough to touch. Go back to 2024. When Sue Me dropped, what did Cardi do? She threatened a lawsuit on Instagram Live and then went quiet. Total silence. And at the time, people called it weakness. They said Cardi was scared to respond on wax. But Cardi understood something BIA never will. You do not hand a struggling artist relevance by responding in real time. A response is a prize for a smaller artist. It's oxygen. It's a headline. It's a streaming spike. So Cardi starved her. She let BIA sit in silence. Let her sweat. Let her album cycles come and go. And then, only then, she hit her. First with Pretty and Petty on a platinum album, and now with a live rant when BIA couldn't afford the new cycle. That's not beef, y'all. That's a masterclass in patience. Cardi played chess for 2 years while BIA was playing checkers, with a broken piece on a board she didn't own. And BIA, like clockwork, like the most predictable puppet in the game, walked directly into the trap the second she typed it was all true under a Doja Cat apology. 2 years of discipline from Cardi, and it took BIA 5 words to undo any sympathy she had left. BIA is a puppet, and her own insecurity is a hand pulling the strings. Now let's talk industry politics, because this layer is real whether we like it or not. Who actually benefits when a mid-tier artist picks a fight with superstar? It's not the mid-tier artist, it's a machine around them. Labels, managers, content partners. They get buzz cycles, streaming spikes, repackaged content, playlist placement of the controversy. So when BIA doubled down on that 2-year-old diss, ask yourself the uncomfortable question. Was that a decision? Or was that somebody in her camp whispering engagement is engagement, controversy sells? Because from the outside, it sure looks like a career suicide pact that somebody else signed on her behalf. The industry doesn't need BIA to win. The industry needs BIA to fail publicly, loudly, and repeatedly, because every public failure feeds a Cardi machine. And BIA is serving them exactly what they ordered, course by course. Now the historical pattern, and this one should terrify BIA's team. This is the same playbook we've watched destroy careers for decades. Foxy Brown versus Lil Kim. Remy Ma versus Nicki Minaj. The blueprint is identical every single time. The smaller artist swings first, the bigger artist absorbs it and waits, and then the bigger artist unloads a coordinated, multi-platform response that permanently ends a smaller artist's cultural relevance. It's not a conspiracy. It's just how power works in this industry. And BIA didn't study ANY of it. She thought she was writing a brand new chapter of rap beef history, when she was actually just repeating the exact same mistakes that buried the artists who came before her. We've seen this movie. We know how it ends. BIA is on the losing side of history, and the scariest part is she doesn't even know it yet. Now the authenticity angle. And this is the one that's gonna make BIA's fan furious. But somebody has to say it. Cardi's rant wasn't really about cheating rumors. That was the surface. Underneath, Cardi was surgically dismantling BIA's entire persona. Think about what was alleged on that stream. The behind-the-scenes friend requests. The Tell Cardi I Don't Have a Problem With Her campaign run through mutual friends and Cardi's own ex. The whole portrait Cardi painted is of a woman whose public tough girl, street-certified image is manufactured. Because in private, that same woman was allegedly begging for a cosign from the very artist she dissed on wax. If even half of that is true, then BIA's whole persona is a costume. And Cardi just spent the better part of an hour exposing every seam in the stitching, live, with thousands of witnesses. You don't recover from that with a comeback tweet. You don't recover from that, period. And here's the part the media really won't say. The detail that changes everything about how this fight ends. Cardi's actual weapon in this war isn't lyrics. It isn't even the diss track. It's the recording she claims to have. That one sentence, "I got this on recording," is a nuclear weapon sitting in a drawer, and Cardi doesn't ever have to fire it. That's the genius of it. As long as that tape exists, BIA can never publicly claim she wasn't the one chasing the friendship. Every statement she releases, every interview she gives, every tweet she sends from this day forward carries an invisible asterisk until the tape drops. Cardi didn't need to release anything. She just needed to confirm it exists. That is psychological warfare on a level BIA's team is simply not equipped to counter. You can't spin a tape. You can't rebut audio of your own voice. You can only pray it never surfaces, and praying is not a strategy. Here's a bottom line that nobody wants to print. BIA represents the old-school subtweet your way to relevance era, and the culture is done with that era. The audience in 2026 wants receipts, not vibes. Screenshots, not subliminals. Recordings, not riddles. And Cardi showed up with a whole binder, a timeline, a legal-grade denial, a claimed audio tape, and 2 years of patience behind all of it. Every move BIA makes from here is predictable, because she's already lost a war and just doesn't know when to stop firing blanks. That's the truth they won't tell you. So now the only question left is, what happens next? All right, let's look ahead, because the aftermath of this rant is gonna be more interesting than the rant itself. And I'm gonna give it to you exactly how I see it. No hedging. Here's what's most likely to happen. Cardi's gonna go quiet again. That's her MO, and it's already proven. She said her piece. She planted the "I got recordings" bomb. She put her legal-grade denial on the public record. And now she's gonna walk off stage and go right back to her life. The tour, the business ventures, the family content, the platinum rollout. And that silence is gonna eat BIA alive. Because the second BIA tries to respond, another tweet, another diss track, another tell-all interview clip, she's gonna sound like she's screaming at somebody who already left the building. There's no opponent in the ring anymore. When Cardi doesn't reply, and she won't, BIA is gonna look desperate, begging for a rematch that nobody's booking. And mark my words, within 30 days, BIA is gonna post something vague, some vague book energy clearly aimed at Cardi while pretending it's about something else. That's a pattern. That's what desperation looks like when it thinks it's being subtle. Now, scenario 2. What if BIA actually goes all in and drops a full response track? That's a nuclear option, and it's somehow even worse for her. Think about it. If BIA drops another diss, everything Cardi teased becomes fair game. That recording, probably going public. The behind-the-scenes details, full paragraphs instead of one-liners. That 21-year-old detail Cardi dropped in passing, that's about to get a whole verse's worth of context. BIA is not ready for what comes out if Cardi decides to stop warning shots and start unloading. And we have a whole graveyard of evidence for what happens to artists who go bar for bar with Cardi at full power. The rap beef graveyard is crowded, and nobody buried their god out. Any diss BIA drops in the next 60 days gets buried under Cardi's platinum machine before it can even hit the algorithm. It would chart for a day, trend for a night, and become a trivia question by Christmas. Now zoom out to the industry level, because this moment is bigger than two artists. This rant is marking the END of the subtweet rapper era. Every label, every A&R, every manager in the game watched this play out in real time, and every single one of them took the same note. Do not let your artist swing at a superstar in a comment section. Ever. BIA's career is about to become a case study, the kind they teach in music business classes under the chapter titled How Not to Escalate. 5 years from now, when journalists write the definitive history of 2020's female rap, this X Spaces rant is gonna be the paragraph where BIA's cultural relevance gets its tombstone. Not because she lacked talent, but because she lacked discipline, advisors, and a single person willing to take the phone out of her hand. She's watching the culture move on without her, in real time, and there's no comment long enough to stop it. And meanwhile, Cardi's about to enter a whole new era. The award season conversation around Am I the Drama keeps heating up. The tour numbers are doing stupid numbers, and every headline about her right now carries that queen defending her throne energy. And don't think that's a coincidence. It's not. That's a veteran team turning a comment section beef into a campaign narrative. Every rant like this feeds a story. Cardi the mother, Cardi the defender, Cardi the wronged woman who waited 2 years and then said her piece on record. BIA threw a punch, and Cardi's whole operation converted it into momentum. That's what a machine looks like. Now, the wild card. Offset. Watch that man's next move carefully, because he's holding more power in this story than he probably wants. Cardi went on record, in public, on a live stream, saying she never cheated during their marriage and daring anyone to find proof. That statement puts direct pressure on him. Co-sign it publicly, or stay silent and let the tabloids feast on the ambiguity. If he speaks up and backs her, it validates Cardi's entire narrative and buries the original "sue me" allegation 6 feet deep, permanently. If he stays silent, the gossip blogs will do what gossip blogs do. But either way, BIA is the one bleeding. Because if the man BIA tried to weaponize against Cardi ends up publicly standing on Cardi's side, that's not just an L for the round. That's game over. The kind of game over where BIA's team has to explain this beef in every interview, forever, as a moment everything went wrong. And here's my last prediction, the one nobody's ready for. BIA's next album cycle is haunted before it even starts. Every interview, every red carpet, every podcast appearance from now until further notice, the first question is going to be about Cardi. Not the music, not the rollout. Cardi. And BIA will have exactly 2 options every single time. Keep talking about it, and get dragged all over again, or shut up about it, and look defeated. That's what a career trap looks like from the inside. There is no third door. There is no clean exit. The only move was to never type, "It was all true in the first place," and that door closed on August 13th. So whatever happens from here, the silence, the response track, the offset wildcard, the haunted press run, one thing is already settled. The receipts are public, the tape is allegedly real, the timeline is sealed, and the culture has voted. BIA didn't just lose a round. She walked into a trap she'd been building for herself for 2 years, and Cardi was standing at the exit the whole time, waiting. BIA already lost. And everybody knows it, including, somewhere deep down, BIA. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications. And if you want more truth bombs like this, click on one of these videos next. Trust me, you'll want to see what we found.